Good afternoon, and welcome to the maiden edition of ArchiTalk Forum. And this is the first of its kind. ArchiTalk Forum is what I've betted and what I have decided to do to educate young professionals and young architects. And then this is the maiden edition, like I said earlier. And today marks the beginning. I pray it will be a long journey of learning, of networking, of growth, and for all of us in the field of architecture and also in our built environment. So we'll be discussing a very interesting topic tied after school, the real world syllabus. And we have a speaker who would be breaking down this topic to us for us to understand. To help us unpack this is a very special guest, is my friend. And though we've not seen physically, I've learned one or two things from him. So I'm happy he was able to grace this occasion of being the first speaker for this first edition. He is a construction and agro-development expert. He's the managing director of PACE Cube Construction Limited, and he's also the general secretary of Rainy Day Cooperative. He has both a BSc and MSc in architecture from the University of Lagos, and he is a strong advocate for building construction excellence, sustainability, quality renovation. He does not like designs and structures that are not built well. His name is Mr. Testimony Asegunmute. I hope I got the pronunciation right.
Yeah, you did it. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with my friend and my sister. I prefer to call her sister because after a couple of conversations, I realized, we have a couple of mutual friends and I was introduced to her as a sister. The person we introduced to, I won't mention his name, except if he joins, I'll mention him. He said, please take care of her and all of that. So it's been wonderful having many conversations with you over time. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Well, I look forward to all of your questions, and I hope I can answer satisfactorily as much as possible, as much as is within my power. And I think I'll just ask everyone who is with you to encourage them to share links so that more and more of those who have registered would participate. But other than that, I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to this wonderful conversation today. And of course, congratulations on this. The first is energy. What do we call it in physics? That's momentum, that initial momentum. It's the most important. And once you've broken through. So well done and congratulations.
Thank you so much. So, like the topic says, after school, the real world syllabus, and we have a lot of young graduates that are coming out of the School of Architecture. And during my time, I had this fear that we were becoming a lot. Construction wasn't going to get to all architects. Well, for me, I felt architecture was mainly just about the construction aspect of, ensuring that the building is designed and constructed from conception to completion phase. And when I came out of school, I felt already saturated. There are a lot of architects. This maybe want to go to a more safer side of the profession, and I wanted to go into lecturing because I felt, okay, if I go into lecturing, there's no more competition like that. I can still be doing my thing. So even going into the lecturing was tough, and I now told myself, okay, apart from lecturing, apart from going into the construction aspect of architecture on its own, what more can I do? And I had to read, I had to study, and I understood that there's a lot more in the architecture profession. So for most people coming out of school, they don't have an idea of what to do. They don't know what to do. So can you just give us an insight of how school was when you came out of school? How was life for you? What was the next step for you?
Right. So yeah, just as you said, very competitive, and you, like they say in the streets, you go see shege. So there were a number of things that happened, and I felt so I was a bit fortunate, blessed, lucky, whatever you want to call it. I don't like to use the word luck, but I was blessed by God. So I had the opportunity to, I think the week I got finished NYSC, the week after I got my first architecture job. But that job was shaggy. So, but if somebody hears you didn't look for a job, it sounds congratulations. But and then in the middle, while I was in school, I did especially during my master. So where I did my IT, I was technically retained. So I just used to go twice a month, twice a week, I think at the time, or once a week. Especially in year 4, I couldn't really go then. But from masters, I was part of the staff. I used to go, I think, twice a week, mainly to just do drawings, and a few times I did site visits. I visited sites. So after IT, I sort of retained that job, and that helped me to have a fairly balanced exposure to, site work, construction, a few other things that, used to happen. I didn't really have much insight into interiors, which I really desired, but I didn't have the opportunity for that. And as you know, architecture is really broad. I mean, now some schools they've started to have faculty of architecture, which I really appreciate because it's really broad. You can be in one part of architecture, just like engineering. I mean, if somebody is doing something and you don't even understand what they are doing, apart from the general principles that unite us, so I was more in design and construction, civil works, road construction, and all of those things, and pavements and the likes. Then, of course, when I finished from university, NYSC, after I worked in that shaggy firm that I will not be mentioning their name because it's your forum. If it was my forum, I'll mention the name, but don't worry. But a lot of people have seen me talk about them anyway. And after, I think I resigned by the 3rd month or so because it was toxic. Let's just put it that way. And the honest truth is most architecture firms are toxic globally, not Nigeria. It's not a Nigeria thing. Even those that, because of their laws, or because of whatever, they try to be nice, the toxicity may not even come from your boss. It may come from your clients or customers. So it's not necessarily, all architects are wicked. No, they're very, very nice architect bosses, but that's me taking the topic too far. So my point is, I went through the architecture firm route, which was my desire. Do your 2 years, populate, blah, 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 and move on. But I do not have tolerance for abuse. Once you abuse me, I'm gone. Even if I'm physically with you, I'm not with you again. And this person was even so nitpicky that even the smallest section error, like when I say error, I mean error that even, how do I put it? Let me try and see. I don't want to go into details, but it was such that okay, so I had not done a section on timber structure before, apart from year 2 was when I did section on timber, or year 3, yeah, on timber floors, and I did a timber floor. And what do we call those things? That when we are sectioning, you just put a box and then you put like X to indicate the floor joists. And the floor joists I think my spacing was consistent until the last one because there was a wall passing through. So I put consistent, how you do our roof joist and all of that, consistent, maybe 750 mm or whatever. And then when it is close to the end, you put one at the end and you stop the last one so that the gap will no longer be regular for the last 2. He said, "No, you don't have sense. Is that what they taught you in Nigeria?" I said, "I've not drawn this thing before, so at least tell me what I did wrong." It will not tell you what you did wrong. Go and check this book. It is there. Go and check this book. The book is filled with 1,000 drawings. Which of the drawings should I check? Anyway, so it was very toxic. I wanted to work in another firm, but as I kept searching, they didn't come, and I didn't want to go Ibadan at the time where certain other I would have probably gotten some other work. So I was in Lagos, and so I decided I would say freelance, but I decided really it wasn't freelancing. I decided to go full stream into real estate. My goal initially was study for a while, then start a small business, construction material, then go into real estate. So real estate was a secondary plan. But that situation in that architecture firm just drove me straight on. I said, if I perish, I perish. Let's just do it. And so I wasn't doing design anymore because I realized that was not where I wanted to be anyway in the next 10 years. That was not my 10-year goal. So why not start your 10-year goal today? And with that, I registered our company and all of that. And we started to go into real estate, and the rest is history. But of course, I'm still an architect. I still reviewed drawings yesterday, so I'm not totally away from architecture. I still sketch things for the architects in my office to draw. I still work with our team of architects on multiple projects. So, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for this insight. This is really a long memory lane and a world full of experiences. So working for these firms, what were the skills these firms were actually looking out for? And it's not just centered into the particular software an architect should learn. What character traits were they looking for in an architect? And what other things were they looking for in an architect?
Okay. So yeah, this is quite important. And number one thing I would like anyone who is, I mean, I know this will be on YouTube afterwards. So anybody who wants to be an architect, the number one thing or skill, let me use the word that the firm expects of you is the ability to do it all by yourself without asking any question. So a lot of us, even I have found myself in this situation where I had an NYSC person from an architecture graduate, and I said, "Oh, what did I even ask?" I think we sent him to site and said, "Confirm that so and so was well grouted." Something about it was, we do inspections and quality control for people and all that. And he said, he did not know. He basically didn't know the difference between something done rightly and something done wrongly. I was so pissed. I said, "What did they teach you in your school?" And all of that. And I remembered this is how they talk to you. So anyway, I turned it into a joke. I calmed down. Then I called him and said, "You need to watch architecture documentaries, read." I gave him my ideas because I didn't want to become what I had criticized. Well, thank God for self-awareness in that regard. So most firms expect you to not stress them out in terms of taking instructions. So I think the first thing in terms of skills, before we talk about character and other things, in terms of technical skills, I mean, is they expect that you are independent. You can work without oversight. You can know the number of sections to draw. You can know how many places to cut section. Oh, this is the point where you should cut section. Sometimes you cut section in your firm and the person will say you are lazy. Meanwhile, you've cut 4 sections. And you say, "Sir, but I detailed." He said, "No, you are supposed to detail this point." They expect you to know that you should do. So again, I think sometimes so that's number one. So I don't go into too many technical details. Number two, they expect curiosity. Now, curiosity, that one I will blame anybody. So technical skills, I will blame your school if you don't know some of those things. Curiosity, I will blame you. But curiosity is expected. When I say curiosity, I mean you want to understand how this works, how that works. You need to be inquisitive, always asking questions, there are no foolish questions, we always say, but there are questions that are not expected of you at a particular level. So it's not stupid. Yeah, some people will abuse you, and I know that's wrong, but sometimes your employers feel, you should have known this by now." So there are some of those things that you can get the answers to. So let me give a common example. Many times, many people should know, everybody who is an architect expects that their staff should know there's a difference between construction detail and drawings and the planning drawings, which means the level of detail when the customer or client has told us, "Oh, come, let us do this for construction, for approval. You are not expected to start detailing roof seam, flashing, 10 mm, riveting, all those details that you do. Planning office does not need to know how many millimeter spacing is between your screws and all of those things. No. Furniture layout is not needed. So they expect you to know, even if you haven't done it before, they expect that you should have Googled it. You should have asked your friends. You should ask your colleagues in the office rather than asking your principal. That's maybe the head of the office, or the most senior architect. Or if you are working in a real estate company like mine now, you have engineers in our office, you have quantity surveyors and so forth. You need to now have, what's the word? You need to be able to know the questions you ask them should be questions of intelligent decisions, not questions on basic knowledge. So I don't expect you to come to me and say, let me see, is the floor going to be concrete or something? I mean, is it because we can commonly construct with concrete? So I don't expect you to ask me how many
Slab, yeah.
should be my slab. There are some things that are assumed. Yes, you can say when the engineer draws, yes, but you should know that go and work with 150, 175 mm, your stair risers, all those basic things. Now, some of them are not even basic, like the one of approval, like talked about, like maybe a customer call, or client or customer calls, and the boss is not the CEO or whoever is the most senior is not on seat, and they are asking, how do you people manage renovations, for example? You say, I have to call my boss too. You have embarrassed your boss. Whereas you've listened to his phone calls, you should know that he would need to do a preliminary assessment of the site. He would need pictures. Do you already have approval? Okay. If he sends you his planning drawings, okay. You need a demolition permit. Those basic things, you should know them. So a lot of firms expect that curiosity. Of course, everybody knows teamwork. Everybody expects that you should have the capacity to work with a team. A number of times, a lot of young architects are good on their own. Then when they get into the field, they find it hard to blend with other people. And right now it's a generational problem. I don't like to say it, but I am sorry, I have to say it's a Gen Z problem. And that is a problem. Employers see them through that lens of these people are not ready, because I cannot send you to coordinate a meeting, because once you are coordinating meetings, structural engineer is talking. Sometimes QS will slap project manager. Well, not slap, but fight project manager and all of that. Architect is the center of, except in some cases where the PM is the center, but most times the architect is the center of the site coordination meeting.
Yeah.
If you cannot work with your own team members in the office, how do you work with people that are not in your office, people that are trying to, because it's competitive. They are trying to make money off. They are trying to make the architect make less money. You are asking for money for design corrections. You are trying to finish the drawing. There was a job that firm I work. We're trying to just finish the work and move on. And the PM was pulling us back, always coming up with a new revision, always coming up. They would do their air condition HVAC drawings. They were not correct. And they were the PM and they were the contractor's choice. So we had no choice than to work with them. So your boss needs to be confident that in the midst of all that chaos, you are able to interact without exploding. You can vex in the terms of, please, we cannot accept this and all of that, but you can do it respectfully, and all of those social, emotional skills. So those are also important skills. So curiosity in terms of knowledge, skills, design skills, and of course they expect that you should be current. You should always be up to date. They don't expect that they are the ones giving you information. Oh, do you know that the federal government set up a committee for, like, there's something that the vice president of Nigeria had a meeting with Arcon and NIA, I think 6 months or 3 months ago. Your boss wants you to be the one telling him, not he should be the one telling you. Oh, sometimes they'll just start conversation. So that thing that they started, then you say you don't know. You say, what kind of person did I recruit? You want the person to be the one telling the person, this has happened. What do you think? How do you think it will benefit our firm? Okay, Zadid Architects is doing something. They now call them ZHA. They are doing something in Ethiopia. How can we position ourselves? Because it looks like another firm is coming to do something in Nigeria. Sir, are you interested in working in Cote d'Ivoire ahead of so and so? The boss wants to see that this guy is gingering. Yes, like they call it ginger. But rather, a lot of people just, please, let me just collect my salary and go. So for me, those are the four top things: emotional management or intelligent skills, knowledge skills in terms of curiosity, and, then of course, technical skills, being able to do the drawings, manage the physical inspections, all of those things, understanding things by just seeing them, drawing and sketching, and social skills. So I think if you have all of these, you would be less, as much as some bosses are still temperamental and toxic and all of that, you would have less friction with your employers. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You said earlier that the a lot of things you can do with, with you having with you studying architecture. So just give us more insight on the job opportunities that are there for a graduate of architecture, someone who has just graduated. What opportunities? I think maybe now more people are becoming aware that there's a lot of things that can be done studying architecture, and but during my own time it was more like architecture was just about constructing a building and all. So what are those job opportunities an architect is able to do even after graduation, and you don't want to go fully into construction?
Right. So the field, like we said, is very broad. Off the top of my head, I can mention, like we know. Let's even start with one we know in school: interiors, landscaping, urban design, what do you call this thing? I'll call it building components and materials. Components on one hand, materials on one hand. In fact, all you need to do is to break down your architecture curriculum and turn each of them into job. So components, for example, are materials. So if you decide, like I said, one of the things I was thinking of doing was selling materials, right? Selling building materials at some point. Components including doors, windows, just say, okay, you know what? If you have the funds to set it up, fine. If not, working in a firm, there are companies that make all of those things and they have architects. I know a number of young HND holders now. Unfortunately, we have this HND dichotomy that I don't like in Nigeria, HND BSc dichotomy in Nigeria, unfortunately. So I know a number of HND guys that are now going into firms that are doing, I'm not even talking about interior, but firms that make furniture, chairs, tables, all of those stuff, doors, windows and fittings. I know someone who works, I was going to work with a firm that did, what do you call it? They used to make plastic molds of electrical components. So of course, because we can model, right? We can draw and build models in most software. So there is that. And the good thing is you can create, in some of them, you can create jobs for yourself. In some, you cannot, because furniture is a multi-millionaire business. You cannot say you want to be designing furniture. Are you going to build the furniture yourself? Are you going to store it yourself and warehouse it? So anyway, I know we'll get to that point maybe along the questions, but so that's furniture. There is also the one of materials. Yes, cement. One of my lecturers used to sell cement, reinforcement rods and all of that. And that's something you can, but of course, that's entrepreneurial. That's not a job you can get. One of the places I applied, for example, to work, one of the jobs I did part-time, you may see it on my LinkedIn. I worked in an exhibition company. The people that do Build Expo, you would have seen them for the Build Expo, West Africa Water Expo, and the likes. And I used to design stage design, design their stage and all of that. So some architects work with interior, how do you call them? Event planners a lot now. So stage design, set design, that's for movies, set design, stage design. Those are things I can think of off the top of my head. We now see that there are even opportunities in terms of resilient cities. But let me explain. We all learn about sustainability and we live in sea levels are rising and many people are in Lagos. You see water, the sea is rising and all of that. So there are opportunities in working in firms, engineering firms, to design flood-proof cities. or flood-proof estates. Everybody is building estates, and for us, we are advocating let our estates rise above the water. Either they float. Floating is expensive in terms of creating buoyant structures, or let them be on stilts, the way Makoko, the way most of Ijoland, the way Okitipupa, all those places in the creeks of the Niger Delta, Bomadi, all those, is it Bomadi, Borotu and Co. Those where they have stilts, houses on stilts. We can build estates on stilts. So those are opportunities that an architecture student can explore. There is also research, of course, and I'm not talking about just being a lecturer. I'm saying even research within organizations for different things. Of course, there's photography. I have a lot of mates who are now photographers. There's one of the top photographers in construction. I think, in fact, if I Google, let me just even carry out that test now. I've never top building photographer in Nigeria. I think she's number 1 or number 2. I'm doing that right now. So this is a live check. I believe her name will be there. She was my senior. Yeah, so she's number 2. It mentioned yeah, so it mentioned Amanda Yehme and Tolulope Sanusi. Tolulope Sanusi was my senior by, I think, 2 years or 3 years in Unilag. I think, let me see. Yeah, she was 3 years my senior, not 2 years. Sorry. So that's Ruby's Polaroid. You can check her out. RUBYS Polaroid. And she's a big time architectural photographer. She did a bit with Tosin well, she's worked with different people, but I know she did a bit with Tosin Oshinowo at some point. And she's an architect, right? So if you are interested in that, that's something. So there's a lot, and of course, policy. So I encourage a lot of young people. So anyone who will be watching this in future, you can even I encourage a lot of young people to enter into the civil service now, because one of the problems we have with people, all these slim windows we are complaining, all these houses, one of the problems is that every state, not just Lagos, every state planning office is overwhelmed. Lagos is the worst, but even my Ogun State, even Oyo State, they have more buildings coming up than they can supervise. So we need to encourage younger architects go into the civil service. I know for one that I wouldn't have succeeded. I was still telling my parents recently, I would not succeed in civil service because you've seen our videos, you know the way I talk. They will definitely just sack me. And they don't sack people in civil service. They just post you to one bush. They'll post you to one bush where nobody. All that your good English, you're gonna be speaking it to villagers. By yourself, you will resign. So some of us don't have the temperament for it, right? But a number of people have the capacity to do it. So I think a lot of young people who have the correct idea, who have been trained, right? Not just anybody, who have been trained and have seen, oh, this is how things should be done, should go into policy making and say, you know what, let me join the Ministry of Agric. Ministry of Agric builds. So it doesn't have to be Ministry of Works and Housing. That's another problem that some of us have. Oh, we think is no. Ministry of Agric builds as well. Many other ministries build, but in terms of ministries that have a lot of infrastructure, Agric is one of the top in most states. If you check Lagos now, they have a number of food, this thing. In fact, the Commissioner for Agriculture in Lagos is an architect. So there is opportunity, and I think there's another state too that they are commissioner for, trying to remember, either industries or something. One of them is an architect. So you don't have to limit yourself to the regular. And there are others, of course. There's fashion. We have some of our colleagues that are into fashion, right? So all of these are off the top of my head. I'm sure by the time you Google, you'll see a whole lot more than the things that I have mentioned. There are people that are into coding for design, coding. I have a friend who I just spoke with before this, who is in the UK now, and he works with an automobile company in the UK. And so he's designing, he works to design cars. So some of the cars, some of their latest models, he's part of people designing them. So there are a lot of opportunities for young architects. So don't restrict yourself. And of course, again, that's where curiosity comes in. Volunteer. For example, if you can volunteer in your state, if you're in Lagos, Ogun, whatever state, whatever your state is, in terms of civil service idea I mentioned, volunteer, go to site with them. When they are correcting drawings, remind the town planner, because town planner just wants to see cross ventilation. they don't think the same way the architect would think. So you can say, no, this church is not just supposed to have this. They are supposed to have more windows. Oh, this event is not supposed to. So by the time you are suggesting those things, they will tell you why they approved it. You will know whether it's good or bad because sometimes they approve for other reasons. And then you can apply that knowledge either in your own state or in your own practice or whatever. So one of the things I would say again, volunteer a lot. The expo company I work for, I wasn't collecting salary, although they used to pay stipends, transport here and there, but I wasn't on salary. But I learned a lot. In fact, I met a lot of powerful Nigerians through that organization and so forth. So the opportunities are endless. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that lovely answer. So my next question is, a lot of graduates, they struggle to get their first job and site experience, especially given the fact now that for you to be registered with ARCON and you have to go under tutelage for 2 years. So some architects find it hard to get a firm to position with and after graduation, because most people will just want to, go for their NYC. Then after the NYC, they just want to start their tutelage on time so they can get registered and all. So what practical steps can these architects take, after NYC, at least the first 6 months after NYC? What can they do? What should they start doing so that they become employable quite on time? And for them to, complete their tutelage and then, prepare for the ARCON NIE exam to get registered.
Okay, thank you. So the first thing I would say is do a lot of research. In doing research, you'll find a number of places where you can volunteer as an intern. If you volunteer, you would most likely be able to get a full-time job faster. There's something that, well, I didn't do it a lot, but I did it a few times where you just visit random construction sites and say, oh, good afternoon. I just wanted to speak to the architect or engineer on site. Well, you walk around with them. Oh, I want to learn under you. Can I come back tomorrow? Yes, you can come back. You work with them for maybe 3 to 5 weeks. When they are casting, you support them, ask them if there are any documents that they need someone to sign so that you can, all those quality control things. So one of the things, a number of us, again, we are, of course, I understand the economy is not nice and so forth. So we are eager to make money. I encourage you to not be eager to make money. It's hard to say, I know. But I encourage you to not be eager to make money. The other thing is I will discourage, don't try to start your own business. Don't say you want to start your own architecture firm. It is wrong. I'm not even talking about morally now. It is wrong for your own growth. You will be growing, the person's growth will be abnormal. Let me just use that word. I don't want to use the word to come to my head. So the best thing to do is to avoid. So rather, it's better for you to leave your city. If Lagos is tough, right? Go to maybe Abuja, for example, where you have family, obviously, so you won't sleep on that bridge. But where you have family, go to those cities. Enugu, go if you are from the east, go to, and even if you are not from there, provided that's probably one of the advantages. I say probably because I'm not a fan of NYC, but that's probably one of the advantages of NYC because if they post you to a place, maybe go to they may post you to Benue. I know nothing much is happening in Otukpo or Topa, I know, but something would definitely be happening in Makodi. So you can just volunteer. Oh, let me work in Ministry of Housing for a few months. Let me work in, especially if you're in a state like Kano, Kaduna, those are fine places. Abuja, Port Harcourt, definitely you'll find a lot to do. Asaba, a lot to do. And then just volunteer 6 months, 8 months. If you have a family that can finance you, beg them, you'll make it in Jesus' name. Beg them to just sponsor you here and there so that when you are volunteering, if they don't pay you salary, if they pay you, it's good, but if they don't. So a number of us want to just blow at once. I can promise you the things you will learn in the 6 to 8 months or maybe 1 year, if you even do 1 year plus, those things that you will learn will form your career better than what you will learn if you say you want to start your own. Because I've seen a lot online where somebody will say he owns his own architecture firm. I'll be like, no, brother, you cannot own an architecture firm. The only thing you can say, you want to start a furniture company, yes. Or you want to start a real estate company. I started that, but again, I was not alone to start with. It was not only me. And at that, even at that, what I really wanted was a manufacturing business. But because that was going to need NAFTAC and all of that. But my point is, again, you don't do these things alone. If you do it alone, apart from even regulators, the weight is a lot. Let me say it in simple terms. Hunger will finish you. So if you don't want to go through an unnecessarily difficult process where you will not even now learn a lot, work under someone. If you are interested in real estate, go to an estate survey firm and tell them, you know what, so again, you think, oh, there's no opportunity in architecture. You may be right. There may be no space in a lot of architecture firms, but there are a lot of lawyers that run real estate companies. Go to the lawyer and say, sir, I'll work under you for 6 months, free. Don't pay me salary. Another thing, you can work under a lawyer that is a property lawyer that's focused on real estate. You can work under an estate surveyor. You can go to urban regional planning firm. I know we don't have many, but you can go to the few we have. So in doing that, you expose yourself because you can't, not everybody will get work in the big firms. Yeah. So if you expose yourself by volunteering, that's for me is the primary way to learn. Now from volunteering, you would be able to say, okay, I have learned a few things here. Let me now know if I want to. So if you volunteer in a furniture company, for example, is when you will learn that furniture is not by who designs. You can design fine furniture, but the machines to cut the furniture or the type of wood to do the furniture is not even available in Nigeria. That I know because of experience. But you will not know when you are just a 25, 22, 21-year-old architect. Some even graduate earlier. I had someone who graduated 21, I think 23. So imagine graduating 21 and just straight out to start my archi firm. You will flop. It's not a curse, right? But you can work even that furniture business, you would flop. But if you work 1-2 years under somebody, or you can do 3 months under maybe real estate, 3 months under architecture, 3 months under photography, so that you learn a few things from different people. Except you're a really bad person. One of them will have an opportunity that will make them call you back. And that's where your pipeline of your own clients or customers will begin to come from. Volunteering for me is the primary way. All those online courses, yeah, they are good, but for me, practical learning trumps it in architecture. We are not in a field that is knowledge, where it's practical. You can do the best design and one bad column will spoil the entire purpose of your design. So you need to work in those places. Work in a structural engineering firm. Work in what they call these ones, the guys that do building services company. Work in their office. There are many places you can volunteer. 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months there. In a year, that's 4 places. Then you can add your NYSC experience, and you then have something tangible that you can promote yourself with in job search.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I just have a final question, and I think you've kind of given us an insight into that question. And the question is, what mistakes do young architects make in the first 5 years out of school? And you mentioned one, which is starting your own firm immediately. So what other mistakes do young architects make after graduation?
So we cannot talk enough about the one of starting your firm immediately, because it is some of the problems we have that we are saying, oh, people should engage professionals. We are just saying it. The truth is, some of our junior colleagues or colleagues, let's just use the word colleague, let's not use junior. Some of them are the ones creating those problems. So don't start your firm. Number one, don't. The only time where you can say you want to start, maybe you are in partnership with a senior licensed architect. Maybe that can work. So that's number one. Number two is inability to be tolerant of some of the challenges that you will see. By that, I mean what I said earlier, where you have a firm that is not, let's use the word toxic. Now, I'm not saying you should work in a toxic firm. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you need to be able to, wherever you choose to go eventually, you need to be able to, what's the word? Endure is not a good word, because it sounds like I'm encouraging you to suffer. But you need to figure out where the best where you can best endure. Let me put it that way. So for me, like I said, I couldn't endure that particular firm, but I did intern under which, like I said, the other organization I worked under, the what do they call it? The what's it called? The expo company. So you can still figure out other places where you can use your architecture skills. That's where I'm going. But don't just say, I cannot endure this, I cannot endure that, I cannot endure that. You know what? Let me go and work in a bank. You have now thrown away all the high quality knowledge you have because the Nigerian architects are abusive. Brother, Frank Gehry was abusive. Go and Google it. Norman Foster, they know they sleep. Go and check Frank Lloyd Wright. He was a good person, but he had problems. Let me just put it that way. All of them, the top leaders, and I don't even want to mention Nigerian names so that it won't be, but all the big firms, So you would now need to choose your battle. Okay, I cannot stay in an archi firm. I actually understand that. But where would I say, okay, I'll go to a real estate company and learn this and that. So the inability to have strategy for their 5 years. I think that's where I should coin it, not inability to wait. I would say the inability to have a long-term, or let me call it medium-term strategy. That okay, where I'm going is furniture. I want to be an interior and furniture person. That's your 5-10 year goal. What do I do in the first 5 years? Let me go and work under Ruby's Polaroid for 2 years. She may not pay me, but I'll be taking pictures of buildings. In taking pictures of buildings and all that, there are a lot of other things you will learn. Of course, on the side, other small things will come up, other small jobs here and there, normal. But I'm talking about the main thing you'll be focused on. Okay, when you finish under Ruby's Polaroid, another 2 years, I'll work in a state ministry of planning, or I'll work in Federal Housing Authority or whatever. Because of your experience here, you are likely to have met some important people that offer you a job. Or, okay, I work in a real estate company after I work here. My point is inability to map, because many of us architects are dreamers. That's the problem. All of us are intelligent. We can dream. Architects can dream for anything. I don't want to even, let me mention it. That's why architects have very problematic relationships, because we dream a lot. So you tell the person, don't worry, and you can design the dream, but can you build that dream? Right? Many of us are unable to build those dreams that we are able to talk about. There was one furniture I designed for my mom in the house one time. Now, anytime I look at it, I feel embarrassed that I designed it. Thank God it was not designed for someone in public, right? So a number of us don't. Then again, if you are drawing a 5-year to 10-year plan, you need to also be able to gather the skills. But because we are dreamers, we think we can achieve it immediately. Whereas there are skills you need. I know someone who is doing very well in graphics design, but for the longest time, he didn't have a registered company to do that. So he's an architect, he's licensed and all that. But one of his businesses is graphics, printing, and all of that. I expected that he would have registered, but he had not. And that's because he did not have that knowledge. It's not because he's not an intelligent, no, he's very brilliant architect. So I'm just saying that to say there is a lot of knowledge we need to learn between our fine ideas and the reality of life. And that's why our lecturers used to be very rude to us in school during jury. They would just say, your jury, you know how juries used to be. They say, can you build this thing? They will tell you the reason why it cannot be built. It's not because they want to be wicked, but the question is there any Nigerian that can build this thing that you've designed? So I think I was just mention those two. Don't start a firm, yeah, right? Starting a firm is a top problem. And number two, inability to properly map the 5-year strategy to attaining where we want to go. We are just building our first own real estate project, our own estate. See, when we started the business, 2017, it's just now we're starting to build. But I spent a few months while I was in the expo company. I was working with some local agents as well, trying to understand how real estate works in Nigeria. Then sometimes I'll go to government offices. Those are skills that a lot of us don't learn in time. And because, I just want to become an architect. Brother, calm down. Pick up draw a map, the same way you draw site location map. Draw how you get from here to here. Then follow that map. Sometimes you will reroute it, sometimes it will not work. Reroute. I wanted to be a lecturer. Today, I thank God I did not become a lecturer because I would have been a poor person. And I don't think anybody. Yes, lecturers are not rich. We love them, but they are not. They are.
Well, but it's all about the passion now. Most people do it for the passion.
Yes. So I was chasing passion, but a very good lecturer in Unilag told us, Professor Igwe, God bless him. He said, "You don't have money now. Don't come and do PhD." So we wanted to do I wanted to do PhD immediately after, and then lecture. He said, "Don't you people don't have money. You cannot enjoy your PhD if you don't have money." Then later in life, I now understood. I didn't understand it that time, but I just said, okay, I'll not do PhD, but I'll just, if lecturing job comes. Thankfully, all the places where I applied for lecturing, they did not even call. It's a different thing to say, sorry, they did not even, it's as if they did not see my mail. Even the one where I knew the VC, and that's by the way, they did not even do as if they knew me. But I'm grateful to God. Like, I'm really grateful they didn't pick me. But my point is, don't rush to try and achieve those things. Draw a proper map. Because thankfully, I'm so thankful that because if I had gotten into that lecturing pipeline, we would not be building these estates today at all. I would have been lost in the dream of, oh, I want to teach these students, because another set of dreams will come. And we architects, we are full. Most of us studied architecture because we are very imaginative people. Not, yes, there are people that got into architecture because they are good in math and all of that. Those people are the ones that make rational decisions. The rest of us, we make irrational decisions. I want to do something that is beautiful. We don't even think of how it to be achieved. And so you need to be able to be patient, to draw up the strategy and say, okay, now I still intend to lecture, but I know that when I decide to lecture and get my PhD, whatever kind of lecturer will be better than what I would have been if I had gotten it those years, because I'd have been an embarrassment, I'm sure. So we need to be patient and let our creative be coming down. We are creative, I know, but let's be coming down. I think those are the two things. There are many other things, but they still link up with those two specific ones I mentioned. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I think we've come to the end of today's edition of the ArchiTalk Forum, and I'm so amazed. I've learned a lot. My mind has opened up to a lot of things. Thank you so much. And on behalf of the ArchiTalk Forum team and everyone here today, I want to say a very big thank you to our speaker, Mr. Testimony Asegunmute, and every other persons that have joined. Thank you so much. For those who registered, thank you so much. I'm really grateful. And I believe from what has been said today from our speaker, we've been able to get one or two things, and we hope that we'll become better situated in our society. We would own our jobs better. We would not have, we will not complain that people are taking our jobs. Rather, we'll be in those spaces and we'll own our jobs. And ArchiTalk Forum exists to educate, to support the next generation of architects. My prayer is the next architects that come into being, people would change, make the country a better place. I don't want us going from good to bad, from bad to worse. Sometimes when I look at the past construction that has been done earlier, I'm amazed and I'm like, wow, we're not getting better. Why is it that we are kind of getting worse at what we do? And we've gotten to a stage where we don't really own up to our roots as Africans when it comes to our design. We tend to just want to blame what we've seen outside the country. And I feel like if we can embrace our culture, there's a whole lot of diversity we can do with our designs. And this is a forum to help achieve that. Once again, thank you, Mr. Testimony Asegunmute. Thank you, everyone. And have a wonderful day ahead. And I'll see you in the next ArchiTalk. I would let you know when the next edition will be. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, you'll be in attendance, even though you might not be the speaker, but you'll be in attendance.
I will be glad to be a part as we go on. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
All right.
Yes, thank you so much. Bye.